Good evening. It's Thursday, August 25th, and exactly 1 month from tonight, we will know which teams will be playing in the final of the 2016 World Cup of Hockey. This is Pucknology Writers Room, and speaking of the World Cup, tonight we will discuss Logan Couture joining Team Canada, Jared Bednar being named the head coach of the Colorado Avalanche after I made Patrick Waugh quit. We've got this week's NHL signings, and there were actually quite a bit of them, including Jimmy Vesey, thank you, finally. And this week's Pacific Division breakdown features the Los Angeles Kings. Plus, if there are any other topics that you'd like to discuss and you're watching live on YouTube, thanks for joining us. You may use the chat box to send us your questions or thoughts, or send in your tweets to @Pucknology using the hashtag PucknologyWR. Tonight on the panel, we've got Felix Chow. Felix, how you doing?
Yo, what's up?
All right, and returning for his second appearance is Keegan McNally.
Hey everyone.
And I am Kevin Lacy, the guy who will never shut up. And then last but not least, because he is your fearless leader, we've got Ian Reid.
Hey everyone. So earlier in the week, I put out this cryptic tweet about, I've heard about mints on a pillow at a hotel, but crack in your drawer is another thing entirely. And I thought, someone asked me about it, and I'm like, you know what, I'll tell the story on the podcast. And then everything happened. But being true to my word, I will still tell the story on the podcast. I'm just going to maybe make it a little more brief than originally. So this last weekend, I went to a place called Science North, which is in beautiful Sudbury, Ontario, big mining city in northern Ontario. And we went to Science North, which was really, really cool. I suggest it to anyone who's in the area. And then we also stayed at a quality motel, chain motel. So it's not like, I'm poor, but I'm not so poor. We're staying in like, sketch no-tell motel garbage places, right? Like this is a chain motel. And anyway, so I went with my brother, and we were all hanging out in my brother's room because it was bigger. And basically what happened was we had our kids playing in there, and the next morning my sister-in-law comes to the door and says, "There's crack in our room." And I'm like, what? Like, a crack? Okay, like, whatever. And I'm like completely dead asleep at this point too. Like I don't wake up very quickly. If you ever want anything from me, the best time to ask me anything is when I'm like in that moment where I just woke up, because then that is when I will say, sure, whatever you want. So anyway, so I go over there, and sure enough, there's crack and crack pipe in the drawer, and then there was like crack on like the floor around like this middle thing. And the scary thing was that my son, who is 3, anyone who's familiar with Pucknology After Dark has seen him. Even on this show, you've probably seen him a couple of occasions. My son has autism, so he's not, he's a little bit slower on development than you'd expect a 3-year-old. And one of the things that he does is he always puts crap in his mouth. And I can't even think of how horrible it would have been for him to ingest this crack and then have to go explain that to the frickin' hospital. Because the second you take him to the hospital, social services is going to be all over you. And it's just, it's pretty crazy. So anyway, that's the story about having crack in your room instead of a mint on your pillow. I feel like this has all been explained now. And with that, let's get down to...
And speaking of that...
Yeah, so let's go from crack to Logan Couture.
Oh, gee.
What a perfect segue.
I think it's a perfect segue. Actually, we should have went from... what we should have done is we should have segued from that story to the Los Angeles Kings, but we didn't.
Yeah. Right into it.
Mic drop.
And speaking of that, Jarrett Stoll is still a free agent on the market.
Am I reversed?
You're not reversed on my screen. For those of you listening on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google, play. I don't have those notes today,
everywhere.
But
right,
apparently Ian is reversed on the video screen. But you look fine to me.
I look fine to me.
I think you might be reversed on mine. I don't know, or maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, whatever.
Well, I'm reversed, so just deal with it. Can you do I look funny? Like, is my bottom third?
Actually,
No,
you're
They're saying on the stream you're reversed, but on my stream you're fine. So I don't know.
Well, you know what?
Maybe you're
Let's
fine.
not worry about this right now. We got a
Whatever.
huge show. Logan Couture replaces Jamie Benn on Team Canada. Obviously, for those you should all know by this point, is Logan Couture is 27 years old. He led all playoff scorers with 30 points in the offseason, and surprisingly has only represented Canada once in the under-18 tournament, which is the bastard child of the U20 tournament that gets all the love. Thoughts on Logan Couture replacing Jamie Benn and some of the hysterics that have kind of gone with it? Go ahead. I'll start with Kevin.
So I generally try and stay away from chat room stuff and message boards and whatnot for that exact reason, because I did hear that people were going absolutely crazy, especially up north, about Logan Couture. Oh my goodness. Well, part of that problem is the whole, well, none of the Canadian teams were in the playoffs, so nobody watched. Well, I guess in this case that's true, because Logan Couture put up 30 points in the Stanley Cup playoffs, people. So, he might not be that bad. Granted, who would I want, Jamie Benn or Logan Couture? I'll take Jamie Benn, but Canada's going to be fine.
Yeah, go ahead, Keegan.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really read any of that. Apparently, the people were freaking out. I didn't really read that. I think it's an okay replacement. I mean, it's probably the best that they're going to do. And I mean, Logan Couture is a great player, and I think that it overall isn't that much of a downgrade. I mean, 30 points. I remember I looked up during the Stanley Cup playoffs. Like, he had the most points for the last, 10, 15 years or something like that, or up near, the Malkin 2008-ish playoffs, or 2009. And, 30 points was, a lot for a long time. So, I mean, he's an impressive player. He always has been. It's just, I don't know, he doesn't really get a lot of credit because he kind of plays second fiddle on San Jose. So, when you're already a team that doesn't get a lot of coverage and you play second string technically, or second line, you may not get as much love. So, I think it's a good choice, though. And more Sharks, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Well, actually, that's a question I want to get to after this. Felix, any thoughts on Logan Couture replacing Jamie Benn?
I mean, to me, it's utterly, really no surprise. I mean, like was alluded to earlier, I mean, he did fantastic in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and obviously he was instrumental in the Sharks' postseason success. So, I mean, Jamie Benn, he's great, and if Ben wasn't injured, then obviously he would have stayed in the lineup. But no surprise seeing Couture being his replacement. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, speaking as a Canadian myself, obviously, if I had my choice, I would want Jamie Benn on this team, if it was my choice. But obviously, Jamie Benn being injured opened a spot, and Logan Couture makes a lot of sense. Logan Couture can play center, he can play wing. He's a very versatile two-way forward. He's very responsible in his own end of the ice. He's very good, obviously, in the other side of the ice because he put up 30 points in the playoffs. He can make good passes. He should fit right in on a skilled Team Canada roster. I guess the question that I would have is, we have 4 players, on Team Canada alone, 8 players in the tournament altogether. Does that worry anyone a little bit? Keegan, go ahead.
It's a good point. I think, who do we got? We got, Hurdle, Donskoy, Couture, Thornton, Pavelski, Vlasic, and Burns, right?
Burns. And Bodker?
Bodker. So I think they're all pretty pretty durable. I'm not really worried about their injuries so much. I mean, I think they'll be fine.
Felix?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really all that worried, so, yeah.
Except for Hurdle, unless, Drew Doughty comes in with a knee and just, busts him up in the...
Yeah.
Kevin?
If this is going to be the replacement for the preseason for them, then I'm okay with it. If they're playing in World Cup games and then their teams get eliminated and suddenly they're thrust into 4 or 5 preseason games, then I've got a big problem with that. I actually wanted to use the 2008 Detroit Red Wings as a perfect example of a team who I think the Red Wings sent either 9 or 11 players. It was some ridiculous number to the Olympics that year.
Right.
And they came back from the Olympics, and they were horrible. They were so bad. And I was ready to be like, that's the prime example. Well, if you remember, the Detroit Red Wings were the 2008 Stanley Cup champions, so I guess it really didn't matter that much. So at least it's early enough in the year that even if some guys are worn down, I'm sure Peter DeBoer will manage their ice time accordingly, and that's the advantage of having a deep forward core especially, is some responsibilities can get handed off to other players to alleviate it.
Yeah, I think the thing that people need to remember too is that all these players aren't going to play the same roles they do on the Sharks. Joe Thornton is not going to log the amount of time that he would log in a San Jose Sharks game. In fact, he's going to log probably half of it, because you're probably looking at him playing in a bottom six role, maybe on a power play unit, but he's not going to be used extensively, as he's not going to be the rudder of this offense like he is in San Jose. Another thing too, is the possibility of injury is always bad, and no one wants to have their guy injured. No one wants, John Tavares probably pretty upset about being injured. Garth Snow was pretty upset that he got injured, but would he trade that for anything? He would have gone to the Olympics if he could do it again over again. He's obviously going to go. So you can get injured in a preseason game too. Do you want to cancel the preseason because of that? No, obviously not. Injury is a risk that's associated with the game. It's a title defense year, or not title defense, but Western Conference, title defense, I guess. And they were in the Stanley Cup final. It's a lot of hockey. It was a short break, but at the same time, I think that this is better than training camp for a lot of these guys, because this is real. This is real game. This isn't mess around. And for the Sharks, I think this is great too, because they have a lot of prospects that probably need a really good look, especially to try and fill in maybe one or two places. And having this extra time to look at those prospects while all the big guns are off playing in the World Cup is fantastic for them, in my opinion.
That's a good point too.
Okay, so
Wait. You do have to feel good for Logan Couture, though, because I'm trying to remember what tournament it was, but he was basically the last man left off the team.
Sochi.
Was it?
Yeah.
Because there was that, but I also recall, I thought at Sochi was when he broke his hand, and so it deemed him ineligible. Because I thought there were two tournaments, but regardless, you have to feel good for now he gets his Team Canada experience that he missed out on previously. So.
Yeah, it's surprising when you look at his numbers through his career that he's been left off Team Canada. It just speaks to the depth of Canada, obviously, but even not playing since the U18 is pretty crazy. Jay Bouwmeester, sticking with the World Cup, Jay Bouwmeester of St. Louis Blues replaces Duncan Keith on Team Canada for the World Cup of Hockey. Bouwmeester is 32 years old, had 3 goals, 16 assists last season, 4 points in 20 playoff games with a +4 rating. Obviously Canada is very married to this right shot, left shot. Babcock's very big on this. What do you guys think about Jay Bouwmeester replacing Duncan Keith on the line over guys like, just off the top of my head, you could have taken Mark Giordano, who I would take it in a heartbeat. Felix, I'll start with you.
I guess I actually did kind of read your little article on that. But I think you did have a good point about maybe it might have been a little questionable, over a guy like Giordano, who's might be better. But I think overall maybe it might impact the defense, the defense, but maybe not too much, but
Keegan.
So I found this actually on, I don't remember where I found it, but somebody made a backup Team Canada roster, and it's amazing. So it's just the defense. So it's Duncan Keith, PK Subban, Giordano, Letang, Brody, Ekblad, and Seabrook. And I'm like,
oh my
my
goodness.
that may be better than Doughty, Weber, Vlad. Well, maybe not, but like it's still.
You can't use Ekblad because he's on Team North America.
Exactly. It's like the players that can't use or they're injured or
right.
they didn't choose. And yeah, I don't know why they didn't choose Giordano or anybody. Like Bouwmeester, he's a solid defensive, been solid for a decade, but like you kind of they already have that advantage of being like the best defense going in. Probably they probably aren't going to use Bouwmeester that much to make a difference. I think he'll be on the third pairing. Although if he's supposed to eat up Duncan Keith's minutes, that could be a mistake.
No, I don't expect that at all.
Yeah. So I think he'll be on like the third pairing, maybe even the seventh guy. So, not too bad, but it's definitely
righties to be the seventh guy. It's
You're
like
right.
I can't even to me. I'm trying to figure out this list, and I was gonna do like a projected roster today, and I'm like, it's Team Canada, forget this.
Mm-hmm.
When I did my article, and to me, like I think you put Doughty with Vlasic again because that worked like gangbusters in Sochi. And then you look at the other people you have on the left. So I guess you would put, do you put Petro with Muzzin or do you put Burns with Muzzin? Does Burns play like the more of the PK role where he just kind of comes in and plays, when they kind of need a little bit of offense pushed? Because like when I look at on the right hand side, I mean, the guy that I had as the odd man out is Petro, and I can't see Pietrangelo being the odd man out. That's why I scrapped it. I said, this is nonsense. I can't do this because my love for Brent Burns. But like I kind of wonder if like Burns is going to play like the more PK role did at the Sochi games. Kevin, I know I skipped right over you, so go ahead.
Okay. First off, congratulations to Petro for being named captain of the St. Louis Blues.
Yes.
And speaking of the St. Louis Blues, Vladimir Sobotka is still days away from signing with the St. Louis Blues. But anyway, first off, I didn't hear why Duncan Keith is not going to be at the World Cup.
He's not recovered from some injury.
Okay, that's all I need to know. I wonder, first off, will Vlasic become the savior of Team Canada's defense, even by just playing, ordinary Vlasic hockey, and suddenly, they won the gold, he's amazing, blah, 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 and it's like, yeah, all the Sharks fans were telling you that when he was named to the team in the first place.
No, because he'll be replaced with Doughty, and everyone will just say that Doughty carried him around.
Oh, gosh. Anyway, more on Doughty in the Kings preview later on in the show. But is this kind of going to be the start of all these players pull out of the World Cup for these injuries and blah, blah, blah? Is there a clause that says they'll be suspended for not making this tournament? Because I'm kind of waiting for the conveyor belt of players just jumping off of this tournament.
I don't know if they're gonna. I don't know if they'll find people. I mean, the guys that are off the team, like Jamie Benn has had significant surgery in the summer. Hockey Jerk saying that Duncan Keith's recovering from knee surgery. Those are significant surgeries. And at the end of the day, I mean, this is run by the NHL. The NHL, wants to scoop up as much money of this as possible. But at the end of the day, they want, the owners want their teams to be competitive, and they don't want to push guys into the World Cup that are hurt. Even though they have this thing with the All-Star game, but that's neither here nor there. I still think that, I just think that that's not going to happen because obviously they, at the end of the day, all that matters is a Stanley Cup, and the owners aren't going to get in the way of players bowing out that aren't 100% ready to go yet. Okay, so moving on from that, going to Team Sweden now, capping off some World Cup talk. Hampus Lindholm from Anaheim replaces Niklas Kronwall from Detroit on Team Sweden for the World Cup of Hockey. I got a couple questions here. I guess the first thing is how is Kronwall still on the scene to begin with? Because I think Kronwall's definitely lost a step. And, are we surprised that John Klingberg hasn't been tapped for this team at all? I'll start with Kevin.
No, I would take Lindholm easily over Klingberg, and Klingberg is a pretty awesome, dynamic offensive defenseman that, because, Dallas needs more offense.
Absolutely.
But I think that it's actually an upgrade, and it's not to knock on Kronwall because I think he's still a pretty decent NHL defenseman. But Lindholm is
Guys
just going up and up and up. The sky's the limit. The thing on Lindholm is he's still a restricted free agent, and he's going to have to cover his own insurance if he's not signed before the World Cup.
Wow. I didn't even know that. So
Yeah.
something new every day. Felix, go ahead.
I think honestly, I'm not surprised that Lindholm is replacing Kronwall. I think Kronwall has said that he has lost a step, and Klingberg he's good, but I'll go with Lindholm over Klingberg too.
So when I looked at it, I looked at all of the defense that Sweden has, and like every single defender on there is in the top section of basically shot suppression. They're like every single defender is amazing at shot suppression, and that's kind of like Team Sweden in a nutshell. Like we're going to be this two-way awesome force, and the only person that wasn't was Nicholas Kronwall, and obviously that makes sense that he's going to get replaced because he's not really as good as he used to be, and there was some doubt if he was ever really that good to begin with. I mean, he was good, but yeah. In terms of Klingberg, though, he's not a very good. He's an offensive defenseman, so he's not really good at blocking shots, not really good at shot suppression, not really good at like insulating that team. So I think when you have players like Carlson and you got OEL and you got Hedman, I don't think you really need any help like with the offensive side of the puck from the defense. I think a solid two-way player that is, I mean, he's not even more than solid. He's a great player. I would love to have Hampus Lindholm on the Sharks. I think he's an amazing player.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's probably their best bet. And he could play any of the three lines and be perfectly fine complementing one of those three big pieces, So, that's what I got.
Fair enough. Did I miss anyone? Did I pass you, Felix?
No, you covered me.
Okay, good. I guess I can talk. Yeah, I mean, I like John Klingberg a lot, but when I do kind of look closer at this defense core, it's really hard to argue with the addition of Lindholm over Klingberg. I think Klingberg should, he could be a seventh guy. I mean, he's only going to get better. I think that his time will come for sure. But right now, yeah, it's you could make a good argument. I mean, Lindholm, I don't dislike Nick Kronwall. I just think that he's lost a step, and I know he's. A lot of these teams, they do care about what you've done for them in the past. I think Jay Bouwmeester is a perfect example of that. Jay Bouwmeester has pretty much answered the call whenever Team Canada has asked, regardless of whether it's the World Championships or, which no one really cares about the World Championships, let's be honest. But, Team Canada does like the guys that will up and go to the World Championships when asked without question, and I don't recall Jay Bouwmeester ever turning down Team Canada, so I think Kronwall making the team initially made a lot of sense from that perspective. He's done a lot with the program. He's always been a loyal trooper for them. Obviously, it's unfortunate that he has to bow out, but man, yeah, Lindholm, to me, is a complete upgrade over Kronwall, and I think that Sweden, they might have the second best defense core in the entire tournament. So, moving on, we have a trade to announce, or if Kevin can...
We have a trade to announce. The Arizona Coyotes trade a second and a third round pick, which has a ridiculous amount of conditions on it. It's crazy. For Lawson Krause and some guy who's never going to play for the Coyotes. That Sean Chaika actually said, we acquired Dave Bolland's contract. He wouldn't even say we acquired Dave Bolland.
Oh, man.
All right, so, the crazy conditions we're speaking of. All right, so Lawson Krause and Dave Bolland and his contract go to the Arizona Coyotes for the 2017 third-round pick, which is the better of either their own pick or Detroit, whichever one ends up being higher, and a 2018 second-round pick that becomes a third-rounder if Lawson Krause does not play enough games, which would be 10, to burn the first year of his entry-level contract. Lawson Krause was the... Go ahead.
Or if the Coyotes trade Lawson Krause this year, which says to me the fact that they had to do that condition we might be seeing Krause never appear in Arizona.
That's interesting, too. Lawson Krause, 11th overall draft pick in 2015, plays for the Kingston Frontenacs last time I checked. He's a big... Lawson Krause, here's my take on Lawson Krause. Lawson Krause is a big dude, and he's a lot bigger than a lot of the people he plays with, which sometimes can make you look significantly better than you are. I don't think Lawson Krause is a bad player. I think that he rode a really good World Junior tournament in 2015 to a high draft seeding. Lawson Krause to me is going to be a good player. He's probably going to be a middle six forward, decent power forward. I don't think he projects as high as an 11th round pick should be. But that's kind of my take on Lawson Krause. Dave Bolland, on the other hand, has $5.5 million AAV remaining on his deal for the next 3 years. He's going right to the LTIR, and there is no ETA for him to be back on the ice. This leaves the Coyotes below the $2 million below the cap floor, but because of obviously they have Pronger, they have Bolland, they have team, we're never going to play. That obviously drops when the season starts and the LTIR kicks in. Panthers, out of this deal, gain $9 million in cap space. That's important because they are going to need to re-sign Jonathan Huberdeau at some point this season. So let's start. I'll just go around the table and see what everyone thinks of the trade. And are the Arizona Coyotes going to cause us another lockout? Kevin, go ahead.
I don't know about that one, but the common misnomer in these, they acquired $18.5 million in salary between Pronger, Datsuk, and Bolland, and none of these guys are going to play for them. Mm-hmm. But if they throw all three of them on long-term IR, the salary is supposed to be taken off of the cap hit, and that actually puts them under the floor. So I'm not entirely sure how they're going to go about this.
If you let me interject for a second, I will explain it. Because Datsuk isn't going on the LTIR. He retired. Therefore, because it's an over 35 contract, his cap hit will actually stay on their cap all season.
There you go. There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The other thing about this is we at least now know Arizona will not be getting any more players, any more salary dumps, because they are now at the 50 contract limit. So that's it for them for the time being, unless they want to release Antoine Vermette a second time. The loss of draft picks that they sent to Florida, it's inconsequential. Spit it out, Kevin. Inconsequential, because with all the prospects they have, and then if they decide to keep Lawson Krause as well, you mentioned he projects as a middle six forward. That's perfectly fine for them because they've got enough players they can have on their top line.
Yeah, I mean that's my opinion of where he projects. I don't know where all the experts have him. That's just my silly, humble opinion of my own. That's not really so humble at all. I don't know. Let's take it to the chat here. Chat, do you think Lawson Krause is a middle six forward, or is Ian on crack? Moving on, Keegan.
Yeah. Did you ever actually finish the story on what happened behind the scenes with that? No, I'm kidding.
We just turned it in, and we got there. We turned it in, and we got our rooms for free because we were angry.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, it's crack cocaine, and you're.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I guess it was just nice of him. Yeah. But that means you should just to the next hotel you go to, just bring crack, say that was left there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll call that the Pucknology special.
Boom.
All right, Keegan, what do you?
Okay.
Topic.
Wait, what are we talking about?
We're talking about Lawson Krause and the Arizona Coyotes and lockouts and.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things is it's not really the Coyotes are kind of like bending the rules a little bit, but like it's not their fault that Datsuk retired. They're just taking advantage of their situation.
Right.
And it's also not their fault that Florida and all of Florida's wisdom signed Dave Bolland to a $5.5 million 5-year contract. That's not Arizona's fault. Everybody knew that contract was never going to live up to anything. I think some of this could be explained by needing to hit the cap floor or just wanting to add pieces in free agency, but maybe they should think about lowering the cap floor. I know I've heard some people say it's a bad idea, and that it won't create as much parity. But there are these teams that are not going to want to spend, and right now they're rebuilding. Why are they have to, spend these contracts, and then they inflate the price of the game for no reason? These contracts come out, and you're like, wow, cool. Dave Bolin just got $27 million. That's really nice. But yeah, I think overall, I think it's a great trade. Again, I think that, what was his name? The young GM from Arizona.
John
Chaika.
Chaika. I think he's just pulling moves. Like every time I hear Arizona doing stuff, I'm like, that guy, He's like 26, 27.
27.
However, yeah.
I tweeted this morning, I'm like, I will not make Pokemon cards with John Chaika jokes ever again. And I just he's been insane. Like he had just a ridiculous draft. Like everything he's done so far has been pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, getting Chikrin and Krause for like nothing. It's just like pulling them. I mean, like they still had to move up a little pieces, but really
and they picked up Anthony D'Angelo from the Lightning.
And D'Angelo.
Like just silly.
Yeah.
Just silly. Good. And I think
they brought in Dawn Braid to be the first woman coach.
We're going to get to that, I think.
We're going to get to that, yeah.
But I think what you were saying about Krause is probably right. I think he's middle six forward. I think he's got a little bit more skill than like a Tom Wilson and not as much edge. So I think maybe that role, but maybe third line. If he, but they, Arizona's got offensive talent out of everywhere. Maybe they need a little bit of grit.
That's probably true too. Felix.
I think it's a pretty good trade. I think, obviously Florida wanted to get rid of that the Bolin contract, and of course it was to they wanted to extend Jonathan Huberdeau, and so they got rid of the Bolin contract, but also traded Krause, and so Jacob, he's got Krause out, and he's got a lot of other prospects, and so I think he's done a pretty darn good job. So.
Yeah. And that's the thing about, like, because I know I read this on Twitter, and I kind of threw it in the notes just to be kind of funny here, about the lockout. And to me, if I'm a lot of these bigger teams, I'm ecstatic that this exists. Because if I'm Detroit, there's no way I wanted to be under that Datsyuk contract for a year and have to do the things that they had to do. So I feel like the big dogs are loving this because A, they can fudge the cap to their advantage, and also they can deal toxic assets to teams that just want to hit the floor. I don't know. I mean, maybe Gary Bettman doesn't like it. Not sure. But to me, I think that a lot of like the bigger teams, especially the ones with a lot of pull, with Gary Bettman and on the board of governors, I think that they probably like this a whole lot.
Honestly, who cares what Gary Bettman likes?
Well, it does matter because
I treat all 30 teams equally. I love them all. Harry, there's 31 teams now. Yeah, yes, 31. I love all 31.
That's why I put them on TV all equally.
That's right. All equally.
Every single one.
Every single one.
This is the guy who gets us in lockouts.
Hey, I did not. Hey, look I did not know all 31 teams were named the Pittsburgh Penguins and Chicago Blackhawks. Sorry.
According to Bettman, they are.
All right. So going to what Kevin alluded to, Dawn Braid was hired as the first woman to be a full-time coach in the NHL by the Arizona Coyotes. Sorry. And you know what I liked about this, and I'll go around the table. I want to start on this. The thing I really liked about this was when it was being discussed and when a lot of people were talking about it in the media and everything else. Obviously there's the diversity aspect. Why can't a woman be a coach in the NHL? I have no argument with that. But what I really, really liked was that anything that was talking about it was based on her, like the merits that she brought, like, her resume and everything else. And I thought that was really refreshing because obviously I'm not against diversity by any stretch, but I don't like diversity for the sake of diversity. I don't feel like, you know what I mean? Like, this kind of takes me back to, Mayon Rhéaume, who was drafted by the Tampa Bay Lightning, but it was a gag. I mean, Esposito admitted as much in his book that she was drafted as a publicity stunt. She played 2 preseason games and then, played in, between the RHI and some games in the ECHL, some games in the IHL, but she never was, honestly considered for a chance to play in the NHL, like legitimately. And I think that, that doesn't help anybody. Things like that don't help anybody. And this, to me, it doesn't come off, like with all the coverage of it, it doesn't come off as, this is just us trying to get our names in the news. I mean, Shaika can just pull a trade and everyone will love the Coyotes. But so yeah, I think that's the thing that impresses me the most about this, is that when this is getting talked about, it's getting talked about as, this is why she was hired, because of this, and this. It's not, well, hey, great, there's now a woman coach and this barrier has been broken down. I mean, yeah, has that happened? Yes, it has, but that shouldn't be the important part. The important part should be, the I'm trying to think of the word, just the based on merit. Like the hire is obviously based on merit, and it's not just, yay, we hired a woman, look at how forward thinking we are. Felix.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, like, I don't know much about her, but I mean, just based on everything you said, like, I mean, I agree that, if you want to hire someone, make sure, obviously, make sure that they can actually help the organization and not, hinder them. And I think that seems like what she's actually going to help the Arizona Coyotes. And obviously, it's great that she's the first woman coach in the league, and props to her and props to the whole entire organization who considered hiring her.
Keegan.
Yeah, like all the articles, like you were saying, all the articles I've been reading are just talking about how good she is at her job. I'm like, that's awesome. Like she's talking about how she used to like coach John Tavares, and she ran a bunch of skating camps, and she's been a coach for a long time, and I think it's a good thing. I think overall, I think she's, I think it's a great move, and I think it's a great first step. There was something like two other big leagues, the NBA and the NFL, also hired women coaches for the first time in the last 2 years. And I think they've all been based off of merit, which is good. It's not that gag from that woman that you were talking about. She was like from the '90s. She was a goalie, right?
Yes.
Tampa Bay Lightning. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That was just kind of like a gag. Yes, that doesn't help.
No, exactly. Especially when you admit it in a book later on after the fact. I mean, a lot of people suspected that, but saying it makes it even worse. Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's all about winning, and you're gonna want the best people in the roles that are gonna help your team move forward and succeed and ultimately win the Stanley Cup. And if Don Braid is that person, then I'm all for it. And coincidentally, like 3 days ago, I was trying to find video on John Tavares to see how his skating has progressed over the last few years, and I've noticed a substantial development in it, and he's looking really good now. And I was like, man, who was working with John Tavares? So then to have the story break yesterday of Don Braid coming in as the coach, and then a buddy of mine, Robert Thorpe, just said, yeah, Tavares was working with her. I'm like, well, there you go. I saw the results before I even knew who did it, and looks good to me. So good for the Coyotes, because she looks like the right person for the job.
Fantastic. All right. Jared Bednar is the new head coach of the Colorado Avalanche. Led the Lake Erie, now Cleveland Monsters, to the Calder Cup in the AHL last season. He also coached the South Carolina Stingrays to the Kelly Cup in 2009. To me, this is a good hire. I like hires that are outside of the coaching retread factory, which this is. Kevin.
I was planning on coming on here. I didn't think that Colorado would name their coach today, so I was planning on, because of the development of Bob Bugner and Kevin Dineen being named as additions to the Colorado shortlist. My thought was, okay, at least 3 of the 4 guys that were on the shortlist have got to be out at this point, because they're looking for more, or they're looking for someone to compare to one of these 4. And obviously Jared Bednar was that guy, because they looked at Bugner, who I, as a Sharks fan, am very happy that they're keeping, because I've publicly stated before before that I believe Bubner is the real head coach of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kevin Dineen has an NHL track record from coaching with Florida, and
he has a good international track record too.
Yeah, exactly. So, and he was a great leader for the Drew Weber's Carolina Hurricanes there for a number of years as well. But yeah, Jared Bednar, he took a decent Lake Erie Monsters team and literally turned them into or figuratively turned them into monsters because they dominated the Calder Cup playoffs this year.
Oh jeez. All right. Felix.
I mean, based on everything I've just heard, Bednar seems to be the right choice for the Colorado Avalanche. I mean, he obviously he did well with the Lake Erie Lake Erie Monsters, and so also apparently led the South Carolina Stingrays to that Kelly Cup in '09, and so obviously I think he should be the right fit for the Avs.
Okay, Keegan.
Well, I don't have much to add because I really don't know much about anything about Jared Bednar. I've never seen a Lake Erie game. I've never really watched him, so it's good that it's not Patrick Waugh, I guess.
I mean, not Patrick Waugh is probably exactly what the Colorado Avalanche needed at this point. I won't argue with that at all. All right, so we have a few signings to get through here. I'm going to try and speed it up a little bit. Okay, so Brandon Pirri just signed today a 1-year, $1.1 million deal with the New York Rangers, 25 years old, 61 games between Florida and Anaheim, scored 14 goals and 15 assists with a -4. Quick thoughts on Brandon Pirri to the Rangers, Kevin?
Surprised it took this long, and I don't know if it's an injury thing because he has had a lot of injuries in his career, but the fact that he's also bounced around so much so quickly. I hate to say it, but I wonder if there's an off-ice issue going on there with Brandon Pirri as well. And I don't want to speculate what it is because I have no facts to back that up. But, I mean, how many teams? Is this his fourth or fifth team in the last 3 years?
The Ducks didn't qualify him.
Yeah, and the other thing is the fact that the Ducks got him cheap, so I guess there must have been something worked out. That's why they let him go. Because they acquired him so cheap. I don't know. But good signing for the Rangers, for talent-wise anyway.
Yeah, to me, when I look at some of these other signings that have happened over the summer, some of them look terrible compared to like this deal. When you look at Pirri for 1.1 and then you see other guys going for 3.5, yikes. Keegan, go ahead.
Yeah, where you trade 2 seconds for a Lars Eller or whatever, and you could just be like, hey, sign Brandon Pirri for $1 million, put him on your third line, he may do pretty well. But yeah, I don't get why he's kind of, I guess, like you were saying, maybe off-ice issues. He's got that Del Zotto syndrome where nobody wants him, but he's there's a lot of talent there and you can see it, and you don't understand what's happening. Maybe he, with this contract, will do well enough in New York and gain enough notoriety to stick. But it's weird that these players, 24, 25 years old, sometimes they're good enough to stick around, but not good enough to actually be around. It's odd.
And Felix.
Yeah, that is an interesting point that he has bounced around a lot, and maybe off-ice issues, who knows? But I think it's a great signing, and so hopefully he does well with the New York Rangers and he actually sticks there.
Okay, Yuri Hudler signs in Dallas for 1 year, $2 million. Honestly, I didn't even realize that Hudler was still on the market. Hudler is 32 years old, had a injury plague season last year, only played 19 games, but in those 19 games he had 6 goals and 5 assists and 11 points. Obviously got that nice deal in Florida after his play in Calgary where he had basically his career year. To me, I guess they need more offense, I guess. Kevin, go ahead.
The thing that perplexes me, I'm trying to remember what he was traded for, but I want to say it was 2 picks and one of them was a first or second round pick. But the fact that he was on the market for this long, Florida picked him up for a reason. So the fact that he went to Dallas so cheap and the fact that Florida paid 2 picks to get him, why didn't they re-sign him? maybe they don't have the room. They obviously had the salary issues that are no more anymore because Boland's gone. But
Right.
I don't understand why some of these teams will trade guys trade a lot for people at the trade deadline and then let them go, and then they sit until August 24th
Yeah.
to get signed. Like, how does someone's value drop that fast?
I have no idea. At $2 million, you'd think a lot of teams would take a run at Hudler, but man, Felix.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that Hiller was on the free agent market for this long too. But I think I guess it's an okay signing. He seems to be an okay player. Just based on what I've seen, the stats obviously don't jump out too much to me. But I guess we'll see how it goes.
Keegan?
Yeah, so I was looking at Hoodler's stats because I hadn't looked at him in a while, and I guess 2014 he had 76 points. Like,
Right.
That's nuts. And $2 million 2 years later is pretty crazy. And it was probably just that whole, like, it was traded at the trade deadline to Florida, right? And they probably wanted to make a run and didn't work out. So I don't know. I think it's still really, really low. Maybe he was just pulling, or his agent was pulling some kind of I'm worth more money than this, I'm worth more money, and then teams kind of backed off, and, that's probably what happens. I know a lot of players go through that where they
I think
ask
Chris
for the
Russell's
world.
doing that right now.
Yeah.
Well, I think, and to kind of chime in on that, I think that's the one real casualty of the salary cap is you have guys like, let's say, a Nick Smalling, for example, who, they get kind of priced out because they don't want to just throw them peanuts because they know teams know that guys like this are worth a little bit more, but then because of that they fall through the cracks and end up in the KHL, or in Europe or wherever. Okay, Cody Ceci signed a 2-year contract to remain with the Senators, $5.6 million, $2.8 million AAV. Ceci's 22 years old, played 75 games last season with 10 goals and 16 assists, and was +9 on the Senators, which in my opinion is pretty damn impressive. I'm a big Cody Ceci fan. I think that this is great for the Senators. It's a nice little bridge contract. Obviously, they're going to want to get something more long-term after that. What do you guys think? I'll start with Keegan.
I'm a huge CZ fan just because, like, I like the whole hometown story. I think that's always cool. It's like Ontario, or he's born in Ottawa, and then he drafted by Ottawa, and it was like his dream. And I remember the draft when he got drafted; he was so happy. So I think it's pretty cool. I don't know why they didn't sign him for a little bit more term. Maybe they're trying to avoid him going to UFA, so they didn't want to do like 4 or 5 years or whatever. But it's like a little bridge contract, I guess. I think it's worth the money. And Ottawa's defense is kind of garbage outside of Carlson and CC, so, like, better keep on to him,
Felix?
I'd say it's a pretty good contract. I mean, obviously it's a bridge contract, and his stats are pretty darn good, and it's great that they still have him.
Hey, moving on, Sean Monahan, boring Sean Monahan, signs a 7-year contract extension worth $44.6 million. AAV is 6.375. He has a modified no trade in the last 3 years of his deal. 21-year-old, played 81 games with 27 goals, 36 assists for 63 points, and was -6 on arguably a defensively putrid Flames last season. The thing about Monahan is he has consistently, since coming in the league, put up 60-point seasons. So to me, I think that, the money's probably a little bit, the money might seem high right now, but by the end of this deal, it's going to be an absolute steal, in my opinion. Keegan, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a good contract. I honestly was surprised it didn't get a little more. I thought they would do like a 7-7 or something like that, but 7.63, pretty good steal. I still don't know if the Flames are fixed yet, all the way, but I think Monahan's a good, young guy moving forward, so it's good.
Kevin.
My favorite part about the signing was the return of boring Sean Monahan on Twitter. I loved the tweet about, I asked Johnny Gaudreau if he wanted to go out and celebrate the signing of our new contracts, and he said, "Very funny, Sean." And just, God, that is such a good Twitter account, man.
Oh, it really is.
But yeah, Sean Monahan, I mean, man, the guy is a stud, and it's good for Calgary because that's one off of their table. They need to get Gaudreau under contract, and I'm not talking about before the season. They need to get it done like yesterday, before training camp. So.
It was funny because on Twitter when the Monahan deal went through, they said I think it was like general manager saying, well, now all they have to do is get Gaudreau and Hamilton under contract, and I was like, whoa, wait, whoa, what? And then it turned out it was not Dougie, it was Freddie.
Oh, Freddie. Meh.
But I made like a big deal about it, and then I had to retract and look stupid. All right, Felix, anything on the Monahan?
Honestly, I guess it's a pretty good deal. Obviously very impressive stats, and just great contract and a great signing by the Flames.
Fair enough. All right, so Jonas Enroth, 1 year, $750,000 deal with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I guess he will back up Frederik Andersen. 28-year-old goalie. I didn't realize he was as young as he is, to be completely honest. I thought he was older. 16 games, 13 starts, 7-5-1 record, 2.17 GAA, and a .922 save percentage with 2 shutouts. Not bad for Jonas Enroth. I know there was some anger in Sharks land when he got signed for so cheap. What say you, Kevin? I'll start with you.
Yeah, I have been on board with the give Dell a chance kind of deal, but Enroth's contract is pretty nice, and you do wonder if maybe that would have been a better option. However, as I've said before, maybe Jonas Enroth didn't want to come to San Jose. So yeah, sure, give him the $750, but maybe he wants to play in Toronto, because at least in Toronto, he might have a chance of, if Anderson goes down to injury or something, because Anderson always goes down to injury, Enroth might get a chance to play some games in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. Keegan?
Yeah, I'm kind of angry a little bit that we didn't sign him, but there's other backup goalies that we could get, and I think we'll sort it out closer to training camp. And one way or another, Mantis Amaris will be our backup, and we'll be fine. Yeah. I'm kidding. He's going to be your starter.
No! Oh, no! That's it. And this will be the last appearance on Pucknology Writers Room.
I'm sorry, guys.
Alright, so on Jonas Enroth, I think this is a pretty good signing by the Toronto Maple Leafs. It does, I guess...
Are you aggravated as a Sharks fan?
Not so much. I mean, like, I can see both ways. Like, I can see, like, Doug Wilson wanting to, like, I guess, go with Aaron Doe for now, and then, I don't know, maybe make a trade for a goalie or backup or whatever. But, I do see, like, why, Enroth would go to the Leafs. I mean, at least he'd have a chance, as was mentioned earlier. So.
I think the thing with Enroth too is that if here's a guy that he's a good backup, but they could also stuff him to the Marlies if they want to let one of their kids come up too, and he'd probably be fine with that because he's going to make. I think he's on a one-way deal, so he's going to make his money regardless. The thing with Enroth, I'm not really vexed as a Sharks fan. I was kind of really on the board of having the experienced backup because window closing, yada yada yada. But at the same time, I feel like yes, Enroth would have been a nice grab, but there's still it's not like Enroth is anything special. There's gonna be reasonable backup options out there if Dell falls flat in his face. If he comes out and has a Stalokian season, then they can deal with that really quickly and bring in another guy. So I'm fine with Dell getting a look. I think that he's earned the shot, and if he falls flat in his face, he falls flat in his face, and that's fine. It's not the end of the world. Backup goalies are a dime a dozen, especially in the NHL, especially right now. Yeah, so it is what it is. I'm fine with Dell getting a look in camp, and then you can deal with your AHL quality goalie logjam after that. finishing this up on all the signings that recently happened, Jimmy Vesey, finally signs with the New York Rangers. 2-year entry-level contract, standard 9.925K deal. He's got performances bonus obviously that are maxed out, so he could increase his salary cap to $3.775 million. 23-year-old Harvard grad, 33 games played, 24 goals, 22 assists, and 46 points with a plus 11. Jonas Enroth, Jimmy Vesey, Kevin, what do you think about him signing with the Rangers?
I think he should be a little concerned that Brian Pierce signed with the Rangers. They are a lot.
Kevin, you're dying. Keegan.
Kevin, you dead.
You're AOLing.
Yeah, pretty bad too.
It's probably just the internet. I would say I'll just make it quick so Kevin can jump back in. But I think it's good for the Rangers. They're having trouble scoring, and Rick Nash puts up his 40-point season again next year, and they need some talent. They also need some young players badly. They need some injection of young talent, and I think VC is probably a good bet. So good for them, good for VC, and it's finally over.
Yes, it's finally over. Felix.
Yeah, I was gonna say all I was gonna actually say was that thank God it's finally over. But yeah, they do need young talent, and they do need that. I just feel like they just need more forward depth badly, and also of course other stuff. But I mean, it's a good signing for the Rangers, and so yeah.
I thought it was an interesting signing for him, for him to go to the Rangers. Some of the teams that wanted him, I mean, there was a lot of teams on the up, and I think the Rangers are probably one of the more overrated teams going into this next season. Obviously, they're going to get some help. Brandon Peary coming in is going to be nice. And I think VC is going to be good, but he's not, this has all been a product of just a lack of hockey to talk about as far as VC goes. I mean, a lot of people saying in the chat, he's made out to be just this phenomenal player. And I think when you look at, when you compare him to other guys his age, I don't know how well he actually stacks up, but it'll be interesting to see how he does. And I'm just glad this nonsense is over. All right, so moving on, we have to get into our Los Angeles Kings preview so that we can be awesome forever. The Los Angeles Kings' current cap space is a whopping $29,000. Coming in, you have Jack Campbell, Jeff Zakdoff, Teddy Purcell, Patrick Bjorkstrand, Zach Trotman, and Tom Gilbert, both mostly AHL guys. On the way out are Milan Lucic, Vincent Lecavalier, Luke Shen, Jamie McBain, Christopher Stieg, who somehow isn't good enough playing in the NHL anymore, and Jeff Schultz. Their top prospects are, I would argue, are Adrian Kemp, Michael Murch, Nick Dowd, Mike Armadio, Kevin Graval, Paul Ledoux, Zach Leslie, Kyle Clegg, and Jacob Movari. I don't know, man. I'm just going to Don Terry this bitch up. Some notable things going on with the Kings this summer. They stripped Dustin Brown of his captaincy in favor of Anze Kopitar. So what are your guys' thoughts on the Kings overall? Where are they going? Where do they finish? Keegan, I'll start with you.
Okay, so I think losing Milan Lucic is going to probably hurt them a little bit, good amount, and it's kind of funny that that's who they got to give us our starting goaltender, and I think that they're going to be out of the playoffs in general. I don't think this team, especially the defense, has got any chance of being good enough. I mean, it's possible they sneak in, never bet against LA, maybe they make a bunch more moves, or maybe they're just stupid good because Kopitar wants to have the best season of his life, which is very possible because he's Kopitar.
Right.
But I think that defense, Zach Trotman, Gilbert, Scuderi, Green, they're all really not good, and they've got Muzzin and Martinez and Doughty, who are solid, and that's it. Like the other three are not even maybe 5-6, like maybe, or 7 on a good team. So I think that defense is just going to get mowed over in the Pacific, and I think they're going to be in a world of hurt a little bit, and they're going to have to figure out what to do with that $6 million not captain anymore that they have for the next 7 years. I think that was probably their best move this season, though, or this offseason, was to strip Dustin Brown and give it to Kopitar, because he's definitely way more important to this team at this point. So I don't think, I mean, I like, talking bad about the Kings just because I hate the Kings, but I don't think that they're going to be a good team next year at all. Also, we still lost Kevin. I don't know where he went.
I know. This makes me sad. Felix, what are your thoughts on the Los Angeles Kings?
Honestly, I think obviously they lost Milan Lucic, so that might have a bit of an impact on their offense. Although I wouldn't think I wouldn't think it would impact it too much. But I think like obviously their defense still is a little shaky. I mean obviously because I remember. Alec Martinez was injured in the first round of the playoffs, and obviously that meant the lesser guys, they had to kind of stack up more minutes. Obviously, Doughty had to kind of take over the blue line, and that doesn't really bode well. And so as a result, we all know what happens. And so I think their blue line still needs work, and I honestly think, I don't know, I still think they could make the playoffs, but there's still an early playoff exit to me. But and also on the whole Dustin Brown captaincy stuff, I agree with the whole stripping him of the captaincy. He wasn't, obviously he's going downhill, and he just has been good. As good as he used to be, and just obviously Kopitar is captain now. He's the one carrying this team, and so honestly, I think it'll be interesting to see like what the future holds for Dustin Brown with this organization, because do they really would they really still see him as like an effective player for the Los Angeles, for their organization at this point, or would he be expendable at some point in time?
Well, the bad news for them is that the Arizona Coyotes don't have any more contract room to take that off a contract.
They could do a 1-for-1,
Yeah, they could.
That's where Lawson Krause is going. Oh my God.
Well, there you go. My thoughts on the Kings are, you guys both said it really well. I mean, beyond their top 3 defensemen, Doughty, Martinez, Muzzin, all solid. They're solid. It's just trying to fill in around that's going to be their big issue. I think that he is, that obviously when they played the Sharks in the playoffs, I mean, their defense core was just ravaged by injury. I'm not saying that's why, I'm not saying that's why the Sharks beat them. I know that people still like to throw my face that I did pick the Kings to beat the Sharks in 7 in the first round, and I will never live that down. But that defense core is ravaged, and I think you have to take that into consideration. Maybe San Jose started a trend where you strip your captain and then you keep the player on the team forever. I'm not sure if this is the case or not. This could be the case though. Just so we're all aware. I honestly, I think he's on the way out, but finding a taker for that contract is
it's gonna be
so that is gonna be
hard.
Tough.
Yeah. I don't mind a lot of their out, like. I thought Christopher Stiga, there's a guy, again, I can't understand why he's not still in the NHL. Yes, I did sing the national anthem as the American national anthem, of course, for not getting that right. Kevin's back. Yay!
All right, sorry, folks.
That's okay. Oh, you're echoing.
I didn't want to talk about Jimmy Vesey anyway. I'm done with that guy.
It's a good Jimmy Vesey guy. I mean, who cares?
All right, where do we leave off? Sorry,
someone's echoing.
It's probably me.
Okay, you need to stop that.
Okay.
One quick thing though. Yeah, I don't know why Christmas tree doesn't have that either. And he's still a little bit older, but he's pretty good. He's been on some good teams, and I don't know. I think they're gonna miss having like actual like LeCavalier was not too great, but they're gonna miss him, Lucci's and Versteeg and all of them. I think it's gonna hurt them a lot.
Cavalier was pretty good on the power play, though. I mean,
Yeah.
That he was a shark killer.
Yeah, well, just against the Sharks, yeah. He's
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So Kevin, just to bring you back up, so you were talking about the Los Angeles Kings. I was kind of rambling, hoping you would come back on and save me from my rambling. But what are your thoughts on the Kings going into the season?
I don't think they're as bad. I don't think they're as bad as people, or at least Sharks fans would like to think. They still have that 70s line and all that. They got Anze Kopitar. The new captaincy thing. Did you guys talk about Dustin Brown losing his captaincy?
It's in the discussion. You can talk on that.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if what happened behind the scenes with Dustin Brown, because there were talks of him being bought out by the Kings, so some kind of falling out happened, and I don't know what. I don't think Dustin Brown, as much as we hate him personally, or at least the person that we see, he's still a decent hockey player, and I think the Kings have a lot of decent hockey players. Their defense, yeah, it's not great, but they still have three really nice defensemen in Doughty, Muzzin, and Martinez. McNabb's okay. It's just that third pair that I worry about. But they've got a lot of decent defensemen down in Ontario waiting to be called up. So I think that the Kings are going to be fine this year. I actually have them second, because I think I put the Ducks at third in the division. So that would mean the Kings are second in the division this year.
All right. Well, you're wrong. No. No. Yeah. I think that the Kings are probably. You know what? This is a team that I can't just count completely out. I think they're going to slip. They could slip to the wild card. They could finish third. You know what? I think that this is a team I just can't count out, because it always seems to, like, whenever their backs are against the wall, other than the same season that we missed the playoffs, they always seem to find a way to get their butts in there. The defense is bad, but as you said, they still got a lot of weapons up front. Jeff Carter, Tyler Toffoli, Kopitar, obviously still one of the best centers in the league. So, it's not like this is a, completely terrible team, but this is a team that's also really cash strapped. I mean, they don't have, they can't add a piece. They've got $29,000 in cap space. There's no adding a piece if they need that extra something. So it'll be really interesting to see if they can get through as is. And that's the only thing that I'm worried about. If I'm a Kings fan, I'm not worried about the Kings. I hope they suck. But if I'm a Kings fan, I'm concerned that if the team ends up just needing that little something extra, they can't go and get it. They can't just rob Columbus and make them take someone's entire cap hit because the CBA doesn't allow it. So if things are going wrong, Columbus isn't going to save them this time.
Yeah. I did like their addition of Statkov. I thought that was interesting. I mean, he's an older goalie. And I liked him in the playoffs. I have to
disagree. I've never been a Jeff Statkov guy. I think his glove hand is extremely weak, and I think he's one of those goalies that he gives up one and he falls apart.
Yeah.
What I do like about your point is the fact that, is Budaj going to be their backup after destroying the AHL as he...
The return of Budaj.
Yeah, he's an NHL goalie. He's an old, aging NHL goalie, but he's still an NHL goalie, and they've got him, and they've got Zatkoff, and let's see,
Jack Campbell.
Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell. I want to clarify something I said about Jack Campbell. I think I said it on air, and if not, well, I'm saying it on air now.
Clarifying it anyway.
Yeah, I'm clarifying it anyway. I had mentioned that Jack Campbell had a bit of an attitude issue in Dallas about, it's my time, blah, blah, blah. I was actually wrong. What I should have said was Jack Campbell is more of a, well, I'll get called up when they decide to call me up, so I'm just going to play. No, you have to take the brass ring. If you want to be in the NHL, you have to want to be in the NHL, not just, well, they'll call me up at some point. That's why Jack Campbell has been an ECHL goalie the last 4 years. So to me, that signing is nothing because he doesn't seem to really care where he plays.
I hope we get the return of Budai. I hope that happens.
See, I don't know. I think Zakdoff. I mean, Zakdoff is was in Pittsburgh. Not that Pittsburgh had like the deepest pipeline before Murray, but he was serviceable there. I think with the amount of games that Quick's going to play anyway, it doesn't matter who's backing up Jonathan Quick. Jonathan Quick's going to play a stupid amount of games. So I mean, that's kind of that. So so let's just go around the table again, just so I have this straight. I have them third, fourth. Kevin, you have them second?
I have them second in the division.
You're on crack. Felix?
I guess I'll place them third, whatever.
Third? Keegan, you have them out.
I had them out. I had to have them fourth, I guess, but I don't know who I'm going to put ahead. I don't know. I just don't see that they're that good of a team. You're right. I get what you're saying, though, Kevin. Like,
No.
There isn't. I don't know. I'm gonna put them out in fourth. But
that's why I have them. That's part of the reason why I have them second, because I said Anaheim's slipping, and the Sharks. I have the Sharks at first because they're obviously really the only team left. Because I'm gonna pick Vancouver next episode as the first. No, I don't want to say that the Sharks are first because I'm a homer. It's because the Kings are slipping, the Ducks are slipping, and Arizona's not there yet. I don't think Calgary's there yet, and the other two obviously aren't there yet. So I got the Kings at second because they're good enough to be second, but it's kind of a default thing.
I'm gonna put it at fourth, and to completely contradict myself from Calgary like 2 weeks ago, I'll put Calgary at third.
I want to make a chart and see like how many people put all these teams at third. Just like 5 teams are third place.
The Vancouver's going to be the last.
I think we're all going to agree, I hope. I mean, I mean, to me, like that's just it, right? Like it's going to be a weak Pacific field again.
Yeah.
We know this. But the question is there's teams that have the potential to do something. Again, Calgary could very much do something and surprise a lot of people next year, I think. I think if there's one team that I think that could really surprise people next year, it's the Calgary Flames. Arizona, I don't like their goaltending, but they've got so many other tools that, can they Dallas Stars this bitch up and, score 100 goals, 100 million goals into the playoffs and then get destroyed because, you have to actually play defense in the playoffs. I don't know. It's really difficult. It's really difficult to kind of, predict, and that's why predictions are dumb anyway, but we have to do them because this is what summer podcasts do.
Yeah.
On that note, on the note of summer podcasts, Monday night will be the return of Pucknology After Dark.
Hey!
We are going to basically, a couple things we're going to do on Pucknology After Dark. A big one's going to be basically we're just going to lay out basically all our plans for the year and hope that everyone thinks that they're super awesome, or if they don't think they're super awesome, they can tell us what the hell we should do better. We've already started our World Cup coverage, which I've been talking about all summer. I released an article today on Team Canada, just talking about the leadership group and the Sharks are obviously on the team, what role they could play. I know that there's some other articles coming out on the World Cup of hockey, so expect more of that as we get close to there. Also, if you like what you have heard, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you want to take this with you on the go, make sure you subscribe to the Pucknology podcast feed on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, wherever. If it's not somewhere that you use and you want it to be there, let me know and I'll make sure it happens. Yes, rest in peace, Teal Thunder Glasses. So I will go around the table and everyone else can say their stuff, and then we'll get the hell out of here. Keegan, I'll start with you.
All right. My name is Keegan. I'm pretty new to the Pucknology world. I'm going to be putting out an article hopefully this weekend. My first article, maybe on World Cup of Hockey. I don't know.
Nice.
But you can find me at Keegan_McNally on Twitter. And yeah, thanks to everybody.
Felix.
I am Felix Chow. And my ad is at PulterPuck. I will be writing. I'm actually currently working on the San Jose Sharks preview. I will be working on World Cup preview very, very soon, like right after the Sharks preview that I'll be doing. So look out for that on Pucknology. And so, yeah.
Perfect. Kevin.
I am at Kevin Lacy 22. Thank you for watching this evening. I will have an article out tomorrow on Pucknology.net regarding some things that need to be changed about the I don't know how you want to say it, but the fan development of the San Jose Barracuda and how it is extremely lacking and how more resources need to be put in. And it's not meant to be a rant, and it's not meant to be a fluff piece either. It's kind of an expose, but also some recommendations are made on what needs to be improved, because I don't want to see that brand get killed off after 2 years, but something needs to be done, and it needs to be done yesterday.
Yeah. All right, I am Ian Reid. You can find me on Twitter at iReadPucknology. Like I said, don't forget to tune in on the Pucknology After Dark channel for Pucknology After Dark Monday night, probably around the same time as we went on live. Also, another just quick programming note that will be announced on Pucknology After Dark as well. We are moving to Sundays starting next week. So we'll be 7 o'clock Sundays, which means I believe the next time we will be on will be the 4th of October, I want to say. Yeah.
4th of October?
September.
Boy, that's a long hiatus.
September. Right, 4th of September. October. Dear.
We just really want it to be October.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
we really
We
do.
want it to be October.
We will
Hockey's
be
almost-
back.
Hockey's almost here. Don't worry.
We'll be back on the 4th of September for our much-awaited Vancouver Canucks preview,
Oh, yeah.
as well as
That's what you're giving me as a birthday gift, is the Vancouver Canucks
That's right.
preview.
That's right. So yes,
Happy early birthday.
please, again, please tune in, get excited because hockey's almost back. Thank you everyone for watching and all the support over the summer, and I hope this only gets bigger as we go. Bye.